It might be a little early to start talking about it, but let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everyone, it's me, SpeedSuperSonic, here's another video, and in this video today, that is right, we're talking about the next Sonic the Hedgehog TV series. I'm sure this might come as a surprise that we're already discussing this, but if you guys aren't aware, this is a topic when it comes to the Sonic franchise that I'm incredibly passionate about and think is very important. In recent years, Sonic has been flooding multiple media markets, and one of those has of course been television. This year alone, we've received 2 seasons of Sonic TV shows, of course being the Knuckles TV series, and then the 3rd and final season of Sonic Prime, with Prime definitely acting as the more main Sonic show, not set in the Sonic movie universe. And as Sonic has continued to grow specifically in recent years when it comes to occupying various different media markets, TV has become essential, and kind of TV has been essential for the Sonic franchise since its inception, with there being so many different shows on the air from the 90s to the 2000s to the 2010s and now the 2020s. Almost all of the series have been incredibly popular, have done great help in boosting the Sonic IP, and with Prime, how I kind of viewed it when it was initially revealed and announced was, okay, this is an opportunity for us to have a long-running Sonic TV series on Netflix that will, continue to bring in new fans continuously. I think that there should almost at all times be a Sonic show on the air. Maybe a year or 2 break is good, but I do think you should have at least some kind of Sonic animated series on the air. And when we're speaking about TV series, I do mean specifically animation. We already know that there are plenty of plans for more series set in the Sonic movie universe that will of course be live action, but we're not really here to talk about that because we know that's kind of definitive at this point. When we'll receive that, no clue. Regardless though, once when Sonic Prime ended earlier this year in January, the main question goes to, certainly after the ending, was is there going to be more of this show? And as almost half a year has gone by, it's kind of become certain at this point that we're not going to get more Sonic Prime. The show has kind of been put to rest, and there are no plans for a season 4. And when you find that information out, your head kind of goes to, well, if it's not coming back, when are we getting the next show? In what form is that going to be? And I do think that is a discussion that needs to happen. Now I should clarify that there's no indication that there is a brand new Sonic the Hedgehog television series coming soon. There are no rumors or reports or leaks. This is a simple discussion video kind of looking towards the future and seeing what could be done, what should be done, what I'd like to see. Because like I said, I do think there needs to be a new Sonic show on the air relatively soon. Regardless if it's on Netflix or a different streaming service. It's just a market that has been incredibly lucrative. You look at the success of Sonic Prime. Strictly commercially, the fans of course have their own takes on it, but like a lot of the things that the fan base doesn't like in recent years, those things do perform well. Like what I said earlier, I was expecting Prime to get picked up for more episodes outside of the 20-something that was initially ordered. I really thought they were going to have this run for a super long time, especially after the success that the show brought in ratings-wise. But since that is not the case, you kind of have to look towards something else, and I can see how it wasn't incredibly, logistical to have that as a long-running TV series with as much money as it cost to make that show, and all of the steps that went into it. They might need to do something a little bit different next time. So that's the first thing I like to see, is that the next show is long-running. But the biggest question goes to, when are we actually going to see this next series? Well, if you kind of do the math and looking at history, the average wait between a Sonic show, excluding the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic's at AM, which basically premiered within a week of each other, the average wait between a Sonic show can be around 4 to 5 years. The wait between Underground and X was 4 years. The wait between X and Boom being the longest being 8 years, that's definitely an exception. And the wait between Boom and Prime was 5 years. You also have to look at this though, the Sonic franchise was in very different places at all of those points really in the history of the franchise, with Sonic being the biggest that it's ever been. And I know a lot of people would debate that in the early 90s, and of course I wasn't around for that, but simply with as many people are around nowadays, and with the franchise being on the big screen, having this big popular movie franchise, the game selling super well, I do think that there's going to be more demand for a Sonic series to be on the air relatively soon. So rather than like the 8-year window between X and Boom, I think you're gonna have a series much sooner than that. With Prime wrapping up in January this year, like it barely made it into 2024. Next year, I do think would be a little unlikely. Maybe we could hear an announcement about a new show being in the works somewhere. But if I had to put my money on it, I'd say around 2026 to 2027, which I know sounds like a crazy ways out. But simply based off of history and kind of where we are right now, I do think a few-year window is what we're gonna have to wait for when it comes to a new Sonic TV show. You have to think that Prime is still popular. It just had its final episodes released this year. So next year, it looks really unlikely that that would happen, even if next year's looking very very barren for Sonic right now. We don't know too much that's coming. But also, they're still making toys for Sonic Prime. They're still popping up in stores everywhere. They're still on the shelves. It's still being marketed, well, not crazy because everything has already been released. Netflix, Sega, they're still pushing Sonic Prime because, you know, there's still a lot to get out of that show. You can't have Sega pushing Sonic Prime as hard as they've been pushing it and then just pump out a new show only like essentially a year or a few months after. Especially because we don't know that there's any show in the works right now. There's no indication that that's the case. It's gonna take a while for them to get this into actual production. I think we found out about Prime for the first time in very, very late 2020. And then we didn't get that show until December of 2022. So that was a 2-year just waiting period from announcement to the release of the show alone. That alone is a long time to wait. Now that we kind of have the waiting period out of the way with my guesstimate of around 2 to 4 years, what could the show actually be like? I do think that you obviously have two options, either 2D animated or 3D animated. As of now, I'm gonna stick with them still going with 3D animation. I know a lot of people want to see a 2D animated show by Tyson Hess and all of the stuff that's in the style of the animated shorts that were on YouTube, but I don't really see that being the case. I think a lot of people just are appealed to the whole 3D CGI aspect of things. So if I had to put money on it, I'd say we're gonna see another CGI Sonic show up next on the docket. And there are many places that this show could go. Sega could really strengthen their partnership with Paramount even further by allowing them to have the exclusive rights to air this show on Paramount Plus / Nickelodeon or something. Or you never know, maybe they'll just give it to another streaming service. There are only so many options at this point. You have HBO Max, you have Disney Plus. Both of those I've seen as kind of unlikely, as I think both companies kind of want to play in their own sandboxes rather than inheriting other people's IPs. Netflix would obviously be the natural go-to, but with them already having a show that has been released there, I'm not really sure. You never know, maybe they really want to strengthen the relationship and release a bunch of different Sonic shows on that service that are not just by Wild Brain or the people who worked on the previous shows, but just a bunch of Sonic things in general. I think that could be cool. I'm not sure if Netflix would feel that that'd be flooding their service with too much Sonic stuff, but that's a route they could go. Point is, I think you see that I believe that the next show will be on a streaming service as cable slowly but surely dies. It's not like they're going to toss this thing on Cartoon Network or something like that. Those are kind of my projections on like definitive stuff that you could see going to a streaming service, it kind of being 3D as just like a guess for myself. But in terms of what I would really like to see, as someone who's been watching a little Sonic X lately, if you know, you know I'm winking, I would really like to see just more of the traditional Sonic cast. I think the multiverse, it was cool to see Sonic play in that idea in Rome for a little bit. But as I think our world has been kind of burnt out by multiverse storytelling in pop culture media nowadays, I'd really just like to see stories of Sonic and all of his different friends, more than just what we got in Prime. Going on adventures, fighting Eggman, doing their traditional thing. There's just so much potential with this franchise for a long-running series, and that's really what I hope. That's my biggest hope, is that the show can run for a good amount of time. Obviously not overstay its welcome, but make a series that could go on for basically indefinitely. Have singular stories that are able to stand on their own as episodes, but also being able to have those long overarching stories as well. There doesn't always need to be like a gimmick or something crazy. I definitely, like I said, enjoyed a lot of the multiverse aspects of Prime, but something a little more traditional, based in reality, I think would just be really cool for me to see personally as a Sonic fan. Something that Prime did really well is their character work, and that's something I hope carries over as well. Exploring the characters more, giving them some development, having an actual arc for them to go on, putting in the characters in new and different and unique circumstances, like Tails being a villain, and I know it's not technically Tails, but it was something that we've never really seen before properly done, and I just think that was really cool to see. Even if it didn't stick the landing, that's something I did enjoy about Prime, with some of the risks that the show took, specifically early on, and that's really just some stuff I hope can carry over. I can speculate about a new Sonic show all day long, and I definitely plan on making another video pretty soon about a future Sonic the Hedgehog TV series, but for the meantime, that's just what I'm going to leave it at. I do think that there will be another Sonic show much sooner than later, but it's not going to be immediate or anything, and I don't even think anybody's necessarily clamoring for a new one right now. There's been a lot of talk and people of course saying what they want from one, but I think it's gonna be a little bit till it happens. Regardless though, I'm excited to see what comes from one. And this is where I pass it off to you. When do you all think that we'll be seeing a new Sonic the Hedgehog television series hit the airwaves or the streaming waves, whatever they call it now? What year do you think it will drop in particular? Let me know. And what do you hope to see from a new Sonic the Hedgehog TV show? This is one I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say. Feel free to follow my social media links to my Twitter and Instagram in the description below. You can follow those my links in my life, feature content, and all things Sonic the Hedgehog. If you're looking for a way to support the channel, you can become a channel member and get your name at the end of every single video that we release. And you can also join our Patreon for a behind the scenes and early look at videos. videos. And of course, if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. This is the #1 destination on YouTube for all things Sonic, whether it's video games, TV shows, movies, comic books, merchandise, and more. We talk about it all. It's about to be a very busy summer for Sonic. We know that trailer for Sonic Movie 3 is right around the corner. We have a bunch of news coming for Sonic X Chat Generations. All of that stuff is going to be a very exciting time. You guys are going to want to stick around. I love all you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
And be right by the motherfucking seaside, dog. Everything I see, I got a dream. I thought these leaves would go and take me out the dark. I know everything I wanted to far away.